Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, July 7th. Over the next few days, we'll have a very similar pattern of warm, dry, and breezy conditions across the Great Basin, with the gustiest winds generally across Nevada into Utah, where these winds will gust in the 20s to right around 30 miles per hour. Also, very low relative humidity will continue in these areas as well. We will have some breezy winds at times up into Idaho, and also a few isolated thunderstorms over parts of central Idaho today and tomorrow, and then today over parts of eastern Utah. Over the last 24 hours, we did have some scattered lightning over the eastern half of Utah. These thunderstorms did produce some rainfall. They were definitely on the wetter side in some areas, with even some significant areas of flash flooding. Did have more isolated activity up into central and western Idaho, and these thunderstorms were certainly on the drier side or a mix of wet and dry with only light amounts of precipitation. Great Basin fire activity is indicated here. You can see generally smaller fires reported across Utah, with a few fires also up into Idaho, and one fire in western Idaho was just over 100 acres. Over the last 7 days, we've seen very dry conditions over the western half of Idaho into Nevada, with any thunderstorm activity really being confined to Utah, into parts of central and eastern Idaho, and isolated areas in western Wyoming. Currently, our ERCs are certainly on the upward trend and will be on the upward trend over the next several days as drier air moves into the Great Basin. ERCs up into southern and western Idaho are just above normal and will continue climbing, obviously have climbed quite a bit in the last week with the drier conditions. In Utah, where we have seen that moisture, ERCs did drop to near to just below normal, but have been on the upward tick with drier conditions. However, that lightning yesterday certainly will allow ERCs to drop somewhat, but we will see warmer and drier conditions. The satellite loop from this morning shows a broad trough of low pressure off the west coast, and this is what will keep our dry and breezy southwest winds across the region. Also, temperatures will continue warming with the ridge of high pressure just to our east. Later today, again, that drier air pushes further across Utah. We will still see some isolated storms in northeast Utah and central Idaho, but otherwise drier conditions with low to moderate fire potential. Relative humidity will drop into the single digits and low teens across much of the region. The only area of higher humidity will be across central Idaho and over towards the Uintas. Winds again remaining typically breezy with most gusts in the 20s to right around 30 miles per hour. As we move into Friday, that ridge builds over the Four Corners area in the southern Rockies with warmer temperatures and still breezy southwest winds ahead of the trough off the west coast. We will see generally, again, low to moderate fire potential, but areas will continue to dry across the Great Basin Friday into the weekend. Relative humidity still remains in the single digits to low teens, still somewhat higher over parts of central Idaho. Again, gusty winds will continue on Friday, but we will also see winds pick up a little bit over central and eastern Idaho into Wyoming. So if we get any starts or have any holdovers in that area from some of the recent lightning, that would be something to watch. As we move into Saturday, still ridge building, warmer, drier conditions with certainly drier areas across the Great Basin, a lot more yellow and brown on our significant fire potential map by Saturday. Relative humidities are low generally across the region, and still those continued gusty southwest winds. Looking ahead through the weekend into early next week, we'll continue to see more heat. Temperatures will continue climbing, and by early to mid next week, we will see highs over 100 over parts of northern Utah, Salt Lake, over towards Boise, well over 100 down in the south, and even in the upper 90s over western Nevada. So definitely warmer, drier conditions, so our fuel conditions will continue to rapidly dry out as we go through the weekend into early next week in many areas. 3-day amounts of precipitation just very light and spotty with any lightning activity in the far north and the far east. And as we move into Sunday, we will see that ridge really take hold. So again, definitely more heat going into next week, but we will see some moisture start to push north under the ridge. We could even see some isolated thunderstorms in parts of southern or eastern Utah by Sunday. But the models are still kind of all over the place with when this moisture will return and how much. Right now it's just looking at light amounts of moisture, but again, that first day is still somewhat low confidence at this time. As we go into Monday, still could have some moisture in the far south for some isolated lightning. And then as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday next week, we could see that moisture rotate around the ridge as that ridge really takes shape across the Great Basin for even some isolated thunderstorms over western areas of Nevada. So we will continue to watch this pattern as any return of lightning after certainly this long period of drying, especially in Nevada, and increasing temperatures with low relative humidity. Continue to watch that return of lightning for any increase in fire potential. Right now, it's just a little too early to pinpoint the areas and the exact timing. But as you can see from the significant fire potential map, areas significantly more dry by next week as opposed to what we're seeing today. Forecast amounts of precipitation, just really spotty and low confidence at this point with the lightning. The 8 to 14 day outlook from July 14th through the 20th shows warm conditions, but still that above normal trend for precipitation over the eastern half of the Great Basin as that monsoon moisture really pushes north by mid-month. So we'll continue to watch that, but still some of the drier areas will be the western half of Nevada, and also even parts into western Idaho will be on the fringe of that moisture. That concludes the webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.